Hi everybody, this is Patrick from Infinity. Thanks for taking a look at the YouTube channel here today. I wanted to show you how you can create a chart inside Sierra that can show you a percentage change of a particular market based on a start date of X. So this has a couple of different applications, but firstly I want to show you how to just start. So the first thing that you need to do is open up a chart of whatever market you want. I'm using a 60-minute chart here of the S&P. I recommend a slightly longer time frame chart so that you can look back further without having to scrunch the bars too tight. That's why I'm using 60 minutes in this example. So first thing you want to do is right click on the chart and go to chart settings. And in the top left corner, instead of using days to load, which is the default setting, so you might have this radio button checked here and then a number of 30 or 60 or 100 or 1,000. What you're going to do is instead check use date range and then put a start date in this format. So 2017-10-01 will be October 1st. And then leave the 2 blank unless you want to have an end date. If you leave it blank, it's going to go till the current date. So once you apply that change, you should get an immediate response, and the chart should start to look something like what you see here, where you see the market beginning at the start date. You might need to scroll back or squish the chart a little bit so you can see all the way back to your beginning date, but it should take this behavior. All right. Then what you're going to do is right click and go to studies, and we're going to add a study here that's called percentage change since open, or percent change since open. So when you add that, by default, what this study is doing is it's calculating the percentage change since the market opened, but there's an input in here called start time, and you're going to change the input value to first bar in chart instead of trading day start time. So when you change it to first bar in chart, obviously what it's doing is looking at the percentage change from the first bar that you have in the chart, which in this case is October 1st. So once I put that in and push apply, we're going to get this immediate response. So you see that the study comes up in the background. If I wanted to make it a little bit more visible and clear, we can easily do that from the subgraphs tab here. Let me just give you some examples of that. I'll thicken up this line just a little bit and put a value label on it. So it looks like this. So we can see that the E-mini S&P is up 1.39% since October 1. So you could repeat this process for any commodity very simply by right-clicking, duplicate chart. All right, I'll tile these on the screen vertically so we can see them next to each other. And then on this chart on the right, let's say I want to change this to crude oil. I could just do /CLZ7, push enter, and now we have the percentage change for crude. So this is something you could repeat over and over. This is one application for this study, and obviously you could change the start time anytime you want. So you could keep a chart book, for example, that just had this in it, and anytime you want to go back in and change the start date, you can do that. One thing that you could do that's pretty neat as well is you can do the percentage change on the year for a number of different markets. So this is the bigger picture sort of application. Obviously, this is looking at the beginning of the year, so this is not something you're going to use on a super short term time frame. But what I basically did here was I made a chart that is just like the other one, except for the S&P 500. And for the study, I decided to, in the settings section, change the checkbox here, display as main price graph. So what that did is it replaced the bars with the percentage change of the E-mini S&P. And then what I did is in the background, I opened up a bunch of other charts. Like for example, here's the Dow. Same thing. I added the percentage change since open. For the Dow, I did it for the Russell, I did it for crude oil, I did it for gold, etc. And then what I did is I used the study price overlay study to overlay that study onto this chart over and over again until I had all of them on here. So let me show you an example of how we can walk through this process. Of course, if we go a little fast, thankfully this is a recording so you can go back and watch, but let's do an example. So we'll do a new chart book. I'm going to open up an S&P chart. ESZ7, open intraday chart. Let's make it 60 minutes, 60M, enter. And we're going to go to chart settings and use the date range 2017 01-01. Okay, so we're going to get a lot of data. And what actually what I'm going to do is make this a daily chart. And finally, actually, it might be a good idea to make it continuous as well, because obviously these roll over quarterly and we want to get full candles. So now we've got a continuous daily chart from January 1st of this year. What I'm going to do now is add the study percentage change since open. Change the input time to first bar in chart and apply it. Okay, that's the expected behavior. Let's do what we did before and just make it a little easier to see. Okay, that looks good. And now in the settings and inputs tab, I'm going to choose display as main price graph, like that. So now we've got a percentage change since open for the E-mini S&P. Now what I'm going to do is open up another chart. Let's say the NASDAQ. So I'm going to go find symbol, NQZ7, open up a chart. Let's make this a daily continuous as well. 1D, enter, and then we'll go into the chart settings to make this continuous. Now just for the sake of visibility, let's tile these on the screen next to each other. So we've got the daily chart here, the NASDAQ. What I'm going to do is add the percentage change since open. Go into settings, same deal. Start time, first bar in chart. Let's make this different color and just a tad more visible. Okay, so now we're getting that behavior from the NASDAQ. In fact, actually, you know what? What we didn't do is we didn't make the date range proper. So let's do that as well. All right, that looks better. So that makes sense. The NASDAQ's up about 25% this year. So this looks good. All right, now what we need to do is overlay this study onto this chart. So on the destination chart here, we're going to right click, go to studies. We're going to add the study called Study Price Overlay. Study Price Overlay. There it is. Okay, we're going to add it. And in the settings section, we need to tell the study what are we overlaying and from where. So I'm going to pick from the NASDAQ chart. We're not overlaying the main price graph, but rather the percentage change since open. And then the region, we're going to put this in region 1 because we want it to be in the main price graph. Just push apply. And there it is. So now we can very easily see that the NASDAQ's up more this year than the S&P. So you could actually repeat this process quite simply. You actually don't need to rebuild this chart over and over again. You could just copy it and then do the overlay. So right click, duplicate chart. Let's make another one for the Dow. YMZ7. Maybe we just make the percentage change study a different color so we can see a distinction. Let's make it red, like that. So now I've got another Dow chart here. And then on the destination, similarly, we don't actually have to redo the study from scratch. We could just duplicate the study, like that. And in the settings section, change what study is being overlaid. So we just duplicated the study. I'm going to go down to the Dow chart. Same study, same properties all apply. We don't really have to change anything. And there's the Dow. So what I did was just repeat this process over and over again for each of the markets, and we end up with something that resembles this. So it's pretty easy to do. It combines some of the really neat functions that exist within Sierra, namely the study price overlay study, which is truly a fascinating and powerful study with a ton of applications. So hopefully you find it useful. If you have any questions on this idea or concept or how we might be able to improve it, please feel free to contact us. You can reply to any of our email, post a comment here on the video, or give us a call. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.